Hello, hello. Let me see if this is streaming. This is why I always pre-record things because streaming is not that easy for me. Anyway, if anybody can help me, that would be great. Let's see. Oh, wait, am I doing something? It's working. Okay. Great. Okay. So I'm going to remove video output. What does that even mean? Absolute shambles. Okay. I freaking hate how it changed. What happened? Okay, good. Am I back in the game? Okay, I'm just gonna go for it. Hopefully it'll record. So, as you can see, I'm in a hotel room. I'm traveling with my husband right now. We are in South America. So, hola, y'all. Okay. So, yesterday, Owen had a bit of a challenge for us. He said to email him, but why not just make a little video out of it? I found some interesting Time magazine um, covers. So I mostly did ones from the 80s and 90s. And so these are the ones that I found. And let's have a little look at what they say. Right, let me just pull them up for you. Okay, let's do it. Okay. So he was saying, what are the scares that were around when we were growing up? This is a little bit before I was born, but nevertheless, it's something that was and still is really heavily uh, promoted. So let's talk a little bit about the health crisis. So obviously, cholesterol was it. Like, I'm not an expert in this, but I think cholesterol is actually supposed to be a good thing. So what does cholesterol actually do? And they talk about LDL and HDL. So it's like small and big particles of the cholesterol. And basically, what it is that when you have a sort of inflammation or whatever damage, cholesterol is sent out to repair the damage. And that's why it kind of makes that cover, that plaque that they call it, because it's trying to heal what's under it. So the reason you actually even have cholesterol is not the cholesterol isn't the problem. The problem is you have some sort of whatever it is that needs attending to, and that's why your body's sending it out. Your body actually produces its cholesterol all the time, so without it, you would not really be able to live. So it's a very strange thing that they're trying to scare us with, and still are. And what are they pushing on us? Statins. And what do statins do? Well, they certainly probably kill more people than they save, but anyways, that's a whole other story. I love how they're showing that the bacon and eggs is not a good thing because if anyone's familiar with Atkins diet or keto or anything like that, fat and protein are so necessary and so healthy that, you know, and that's going to be some other things that come up in the magazine covers, this whole low fat, no fat diet. That's the worst diet you could give someone because there is no essential carbohydrate, but there is essential fatty acids and there are essential amino acids, which are proteins. So you absolutely do need those things, and you kind of need them in a fairly high amount. So anyway, keto, not kosher. Holla if you hear it. Okay, let's go to the next one. I don't really know anything about this guy, but I found his hat and sideburns suspicious. And this is from 1934. So there you go. They've been around. Okay, what's next? Sexual revolution. Of course, the sexual revolution. Um, the thing is at this time period, sex was sort of becoming a scary thing because this was around like the AIDS time, AIDS crisis and everything. So in the 60s and 70s, it was like free love. We got sucked at Woodstock. And so all of that is Owen so eloquently put. But in the 80s and 90s and that time period, it was how sex is really scary and it'll kill you and you're going to get AIDS and all the rest of it. So that was definitely it. I think it's funny how they love to use the um, Genesis imagery of the Garden of Eden. And let's just like go a little bit closer and see all the interesting things, the imagery. So all the fruits are falling down. It looks like even the snake is. So what is he doing? Oh, he's shaking the tree, and all the fruit is falling down. So very, very interesting. Um, where did he get glasses? I mean, come on, that is not an accurate representation. He looks more hat-like than anything. Come on. Anyway, okay, this piece of something, and the language in this is going to come up in a few other covers. Um, why is everything magic? Magic, magic, magic. So Bill Gates, oh, we can thank him for a lot. So computers was another thing that was being foreshadowed. There's another article, magazine cover that's got the AI foreshadowing. And it's really funny how well planned everything is because in the moment, you don't see it as a plan. It sort of seems like, oh, this new thing has come up. Oh, and this other new thing has come up. But actually, when you look at it in hindsight, so when you can see history moving through the time, you really notice, oh my gosh, this is really deliberate. It's not an accident. So, of course, we know Bill Gates has his hand in, well, virtually everything. But, the magic inside the machine. Interesting. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I learned this in one of my college courses. Basically, I think there was a court case or something against Microsoft because he wanted to make his product free, and he basically undercut all of his competition who was selling operating systems. And so by making his free, which on the surface seems like a good thing, but we all know when something is free, you are the product and they're collecting all of your information. So, I mean, they're probably going to collect it even if you pay for it, but free is the best way to get everyone on board. Even if something is $1, people seem to really not want to take out their card and pay for anything. So, very clever move. Very, very clever move. Anyway, so let's move on to the next one. Again, and oh my god, and this is Feinstein. So we know, what is it? Isn't she like a Chinese spy or something like that? She's, anyway, yet another hat in Congress. What a shocker. So, anyways, once again, we are foreshadowing women in government, women in politics. So at this point, they were looking for vice president, but they're also, trying their luck at the presidency. But it's funny that even as a vice president, nobody wanted a woman. And being a woman, I agree. I don't think that there's a place for women in leadership roles, but I just don't think that you would ever want somebody like Hillary or Feinstein or any of these kooky or crazy people leading the country. It really is sort of like an embarrassment. What, there was no guys fit for the job? It's, I don't know. Anyway, it's a whole other stream to talk about what's the deal with women. Okay, here we go. The population curse. Talk about depopulating the people. And let's just like look, this is about Mexico, but again, they've been after Mexico for a long time, it seems. So what are we seeing? Smokestacks from industry, lots of buildings, lots of cars, just this one little breadbasket, too many people. I'm sorry, but I don't buy into the whole overpopulation agenda, because here's the thing: the world is actually quite large, and the problem isn't overpopulation. The problem is too many people in one place. So it's more like over concentration. It's too densely populated in one area, and that's the problem. Where did all these kind of diseases start to happen? Is when we started living in big cities and in close proximity to other people. And we know that because when people sort of lived in the country by themselves on their big plots of land, it wasn't as prevalent. Of course, people would still get sick and die. That's pretty much a fact of life. But it's really gotten worse the more densely populated cities have become. And we're literally living on top of each other and next to each other. And there is a higher risk of contagion when you're in that kind of environment. And it's really interesting. What are those two buildings? I know that's probably those Mexican pyramids, but it's definitely got 9/11 vibes with the two pyramids there, or the two buildings, and smoke around them. In any case, so let's go on to the next one. So they've been pushing this for a very long time. Okay, making babies, very interesting. So instead of making babies the old-fashioned way, which is the fun way, now it's the new science of conception. So look at it, it's like a digital hologram world in some sort of a matrix type of setting. The baby is in a bubble, not in a womb where it should be, and in someone's hands. So literally, what is that metaphor saying? Your life is in someone's hands, right? Again, they've been doing this for a very, very long time. And I wouldn't be surprised. It's like they say, the science of conception, very interesting. It's like everyone says, when something is brought out, they've already been doing it for decades. When it's the new technology, it's not new, because making it has taken a long time. And the fact it's ready for public consumption tells you that it's been, in the works for a very, very long time. So it's got Brave New World vibes, doesn't it? The children made in a laboratory kind of thing. Okay, let's go to the next one. Our favorite joke, and there's going to be a few more of these. Our favorite friends at NASA and the space station. The US in space, what's up and what's ahead? Rescuing a satellite. And the heading is Astronauts Rescue Satellite. Yeah, sure you do. Isn't that funny that decades ago it was man rescuing machine, and now it's machine rescuing man? It's really quite funny how everything has taken a turn. But they've really, and there's a really much funnier one further down. I've taken quite a few of these screenshots to share. But it's really, really funny how they've really been blowing this trumpet for a long time. NASA in space and people in space. Yeah. Okay, so I remember everyone had a VCR back in the day. Good times when you didn't rewind the video. That was funny. Anyway, so here we go. Video cassette recorders. Here's another, as I said, that magic in the computer with, what was his name? Bill Gates? Again, Santa's hottest gift. The magic box that is creating a video revolution. Again, what is with this magic box? Magic inside the computer, magic in the box. What are they trying to say when they're telling us this? Is it simply a figure of speech? or his own right? Are they doing their little wizardry, whatever it is that they think they're doing? Definitely seems suspicious. And of course, we've got our okay, people videotaping their kids. We've got a little allusion to porn there with those legs. News, of course. What was it called? Grabbler football. I freaking love that video. And there you go. It's all being foretold. And remember that the computer was actually invented in the 80s, I believe. So it is really, really recent. We have come a long way. Now, tomorrow is actually going to be 9/11. Excuse me. And what happened allegedly at that time? Well, hijack terror, planes. This was, when was it? 9/11. It was 2001, I believe, right? So this is quite a while before it. Something like, I don't know, over 15 years before it. So does anyone wonder how come? And there was many of these terror hijack, terrorism, planes hijacking. There was a lot of those um, cover stories, many of the weeks in the 80s alone, but I couldn't possibly go through all of them. They have it since, like, as you saw that other videos from the 20s. So there's quite a lot of these, and you know, definitely they knew something, that is for damn sure. Again, another one. Struggle against terrorism. America under the gun. So here we go. At least this guy had a gun. I mean, no way you could have done it with box cutter, but what do I know? Anyways, so again, a lot of foreshadowing of the same events. What's next? Once again, immigration. Special issue, immigrants. Here we go. The changing face of America. Interesting. They want to change the face of America. And what's it say? Climax of the hostage crisis. Okay, interesting. So something else was going on at that time. And you may or may not know this, but the guy at I think he's like one of the head guys at the ADL, or no, SPLC, one of them too. This guy actually has a chart in his office of how the population of America has gone from a majority white to still barely a majority. It's like over 50%, but it's been cut down by half, and that's not by accident. It is an intention. It is their mission statement. They want that to happen. And here we go. Decades ago, it has been happening. Another magic thing, and we know Spielberg's a creep, but in any case, here we go. Magician of the movies, Steven Spielberg. Why is everything magic related that is related to computers and TV? There is something going on there. I'm not sure what it is. Again, of all and English is a very rich language, of all the figures of speech that they could have used, this is the one that they keep going to. Maybe there's a reason. And as I was saying about the AIDS crisis, because that was going on, a lot of dumpster pumping was happening at this time. And for all of the things that maybe we don't like about Crowder, I really did appreciate how when he did his AIDS episode where he showed actually how much funding was taken away from cancer research, which is something that children, adults, every race, man, woman, is going to potentially be affected by. Why would you take away funding from that to fund something that 2% of the population is susceptible to? Hetero couples are almost very unlikely to get it unless they're doing something really dodgy. So that I did appreciate that he did that. You give credit where credit is due. Maybe he should be a little bit more worried about it than us. But in any case, the growing underlying threat. Yeah, is it growing though? Where is it growing? Why is it growing? I don't know. I also think it's really interesting how Michael Jones was talking about in one of his videos about how the AIDS crisis in Africa isn't really quite what they say, because they sort of just label deaths as AIDS even if they weren't. I don't know about that. I'm not going to spread misinformation because I don't know. But Um, I thought that was an interesting um, revelation that he made. Okay, so back to food. Telling you, people really are fear mongering about the food. First, we had that stupid food pyramid, which was literally the inverse of what you should be doing. Yeah, you should have 6 portions of bread, pasta, rice, and potatoes a day. Yeah, sure. I think it was probably more than that, even. That's cereal and all the rest of it. Heart healthy grains. You mean killer grains? Like, it's really funny. Eat very little fish and meat and fat. No, you should actually eat more of that, more vegetables, and less of all the crap that they're doing. So, anyways, this article was particularly about fast food. So, yeah, that's another thing that we can be grateful for. Now, this really is the next one is going to be really illuminating about how much of a hypocritical attitude the West takes about communists. On the one hand, they'll have an article about, and I'll just go ahead and come to it. On the one hand, here we go, China moving away from Marx. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce the guy's name, but I think he was I don't know what you call it, chairman, prime minister, president, I don't know, whatever the supreme leader's title is over there. And so they'll say something like this, where they're showing the kind of historical evolution from their ancient dynasties to communism and then to, I don't know, I guess they're capitalist communists now. I don't know what the hell they're doing. So they'll say something like this, moving away from Marx. And then a little bit later on, I don't know if I got the screen grab of it or not, but you can look it up. The same guy, you can just look up his name. Time put him as the man of the year. So how can he be the man of the year, but also like a commie scumbag? It's very interesting. They did that with the when Reagan was in power. They did the same thing when Gorbachev over in the Soviet Union came to power as well. They kept saying literally in the same month. One week it's oops, sorry about that. 1 week it's that he's a commie scumbag, and then in the next week they did the same thing. How they did to this Chinese guy, put Gorbachev as the man of the year. How can he be the man of the year? Everyone hated that guy. Anyway, allegedly. So, trade wars. Congress pushes for protectionism. Reagan holds fast against barriers. So, when Trump is having a trade war and he wants protectionism in place to help American industry and help people, that's not good. But Reagan, when he does it, or I guess they were maybe squaring off, but when it was happening a while ago, it was a good thing. But when it isn't the guy that they want to be doing it, it's not a good thing. It's so transparent, and actually, there's really nothing necessarily wrong with protectionism. It's funny how we add isms and weird suffixes to words that make them somehow bad things. It's not a bad thing to protect your own economy, to protect your own people, to protect your livelihood. Why would you want to flood your country with cheap shit from somewhere else? And actually, not just that you're buying their cheap shit, you've exported your own industries to those places. So, what is it called again? Off, like when you do, oh God, it's escaping me. Anyway, you've taken your industries and you put them in a different country and then you buy their stuff back. It makes no sense. Why don't you just do it yourself? You don't need to have hundreds of clothes. You can just have fewer clothes made at home, better quality, and your neighbor has a job and you have a job. You're literally shooting yourself in the foot, and there's really nothing necessarily wrong with it. What might be wrong with it is if you take it to the extreme and you don't take things from other countries that might well be beneficial to you, or if we just stop importing, I don't know, pineapples or avocados or something, that might suck because people maybe want those things and are happy to pay for them, and you can't grow everything, right? So there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. There is a benefit to protecting your way of life first. I also don't know why people deify Reagan. Like, if you actually objectively, without the partisan glasses, look at him, he was another Hollywood dick. He wasn't terribly smart. He very much facilitated the war on drugs. His wife was like, "Oh no, the war on drugs," but then actually, we all know that what the government was doing, helping facilitate the war on drugs. He did do a lot of things that were not so great. I don't know why people go, "Oh, back when Reagan was around," like he wasn't that great. I just don't get why people do that. And I think, didn't Reagan have the "Make America Great Again" slogan as well? So I mean, I don't know. Seems like they're capitalizing on the way that those people were thinking to use that. Okay, here's something that's really popular right now, and there's another one or two of these types of articles. Water, dirty water, which of course, hey, if you don't want clean air, clean water, clean soil, all the rest of it, then you're crazy. But um, the way that they're going about it, poisoning of America, toxic wastes. Have we stopped doing that? Because I don't think we've stopped doing that. We just sort of pretend like we've stopped doing that. There's another one that's going to come up about ocean plastics. People have been banging this drum for so long, but the youngsters either weren't born yet, like me, or the older people forget. I think they have like a terrible memory. They genuinely forget that this was going on. So I don't know. Okay, next one. More space stuff. Skywatch. I just sort of like the picture of it. Like, look at the Earth smiling. It's just more deifying the creation and not the creator. Oh, yeah, here we go. The Man of the Year. That's what I was telling you about. How can this guy be the Man of the Year when first we hate China? And here we go. One of the headings is communism. First we hate China. Then we love China. Then we hate them again. But then we sort of secretly admire them. It just makes no sense. It makes zero sense. And like I said, they did the same thing with Gorbachev. Okay, gospel TV. We all know that televangelists are the scum of the earth and give a terrible name to Christ and the gospel, but here we are. Religion, politics, and money. Televangelist Pat Robertson. I don't know anything about that guy, but he looks a bit creepy. Here we go. Good news, cheap oil. Bad news, cheap oil. Yeah, I don't know how cheap oil was, but it's certainly not that cheap now. I think this was maybe it was peak oil time or something like that. Oh, here's a little subtitle. How to Stop Terrorism. This was in 1986. Well, you clearly haven't been able to stop it, have you? No, you haven't. Here we go. Target Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi, 1986. Well. When did he get killed? I think it was Hillary and Obama were around at that time, wasn't it? So that was fairly recently. It was in the 2000s. And this is in 1986. They've been after this guy for a long time. Look at the small little bit here. Controlling the gene splicers. Do you know what that is? Where they do gene editing. Very, very interesting how long they've been doing this. And they've been doing that particular gene splicing much, much longer. They were probably doing that probably like Second World War and probably before it as well. Here we go, our favorite demographic, the baby boomers. 1986, the baby boomers turned 40, and of course, they get it. And this article also talked about Chernobyl. Very funny how they are desperate to be celebrated. Very, very funny. How dare you? How dare you not put me on the cover of Time magazine? I'm a baby boomer. I went to NASA on pure grit. Fixing NASA. Well, good luck with that. Okay. Well, I don't know what to say about that. I really don't know how they're going to fix NASA. So, yeah, just thought that was quite funny. Have you guys seen when Trump was talking about how they're going to dominate the space? The next frontier is space. I think that they also jokingly called it Star Wars. Um, I'm pretty sure, again, Reagan called it this as well. This is during his administration, if I'm not mistaken on my dates. But yeah, it's funny. And look at the way that this image is. Doesn't it look just like when they were doing the baby one, where it was in the hand, the palm of the hand, the baby, and it was something about creating a baby or making a baby. That's what it was called. Science of conception. It's the same digital kind of idea. Star Wars games. The stakes go up. Nice double entendre there. So they've been doing this a long time. Here we go. Fighting pornography. Something we've been talking about quite a lot. Time, sex busters. Sex, pornography, and business. That's what they've done related categories of. Okay. Let's see. Censorship, legal action with the gavel, throwing the book. They got scissors. I wonder what the scissors are for. Take a little off the top, if you know what I mean. Those damn grapplers. Okay, here we go. More about creepy gene and DNA research and AIDS yet again. Viruses, keys to life and death. New research, new danger. Didn't like Magic Johnson cure himself of AIDS by like no longer like when he stopped taking the antiretroviral drugs? That's quite funny, really. Anyways, I'm not a huge expert on that. I don't really know much about it, but that seems to be what's happening. What's next? High-tech Wall Street. Is it good for America? Well, if you didn't know if it was good for America in 1986 or not, why did you keep doing it? Was it too much of a headache to, I don't know, stop and think about it? Like, did you have to screw us this hard? Anyway, this is another one near and dear to my heart. Sex education. What should children know? When should they know it? Today in room 301, the birds and the bees, and much, much more. How honest indeed. And look at the kids are like shocked. We have taken sex education way too far, way too soon. But look, even like over 30 years ago, people were questioning this, and think about how much further it's gone. Now it's drag time story hour or whatever it is that they call it. Come and sit on the sex offender's lap. It's totally fine. No background checks allowed for, or not even allowed, not even considered doing a background check in a public library with a frickin' pedo reading and touching, your children. But you are complaining about, they're lying that you don't need a background check to get a gun. Yeah, you do. You actually do. But apparently you don't need a background check to molest children and get paid for it. I think they were hired to do this, or maybe they did it for free. I don't know. But, like, what nonsense. What nonsense. Time, bang. A star explodes, providing new clues to the nature of the universe. Yeah. Let me just give you a clue to the nature of the universe. It's not from the Big Bang. And if you want to call God's creation the Big Bang, then you can go ahead and call it that. But yeah, you're much more than stardust. That is for sure. Here we go. Israel, the spy case Furor. Interesting. Wonder what that is about. Didn't see that in the other covers. Okay, here we go. Something that we're doing right now. And actually, this was very popular a long time ago, but it was sort of kiboshed. Like, they didn't want to go ahead with electric cars, but someone invented the electric car like many decades ago. It was functioning at that time, but they didn't seem to go ahead with it. So this one's called Superconductors Time, Wiring the Future. The superconductivity revolution, and you can see that like futuristic car being charged up And who are these very futuristic people in the background? Time. Whatever happened to ethics? Is it just me or am I getting like a Picasso impressionist kind of thing where it's like it looks like a face that with the one eye? I don't know. Maybe it's like hiding in plain sight. Um, Assaulted by sleaze, scandals, and hypocrisy, America searches for its moral bearings. Well, yeah, obviously I haven't found them because no morals or ethics in anything these days. So funny. Again, 1987. It's so funny how they've been just recycling the news over and over and over again, and nothing has changed. In fact, it's been getting worse and worse. Anyway, again, back to China. Time When China Went Mad, an extraordinary memoir of the Cultural Revolution. So, China's gone mad. We're fighting communism, but the Chinese leader is the man of the year. And it's so funny how everyone's like complaining about the Nazis, 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 but Nazis only killed however many that they killed. But um, communists killed like easily over 100,000. Cambodia and Vietnam, Soviet Union, um, South America, lots of commies were killed here, or rather, people by the commies. And no one seems to think about that. Oh, Korea, of course. No one seems to think about that or care about that. And I think that's because that secretly is like they admire them and they look up to them and they really, really wish that they could do that again. So they're really not going to interfere with the communist agenda. But they really don't want anyone to have any sort of racial or ethnic or national pride. Of course, the Nazis took that to the extreme, and that's never a good thing when you are genociding a whole group of people. But are we not being genocided? I really, really love how Owen yesterday in his stream just pulled up the UN declaration on what is genocide, their article of what genocide is, and it's like all this abortion, millions of children were aborted. How is that not genocide? How is that okay? It's just shocking. That's a whole other stream that I would actually very much like to cover because it's really sickening. And we're legislating that. How is that okay? How is that different than what the Nazis did? We have an actual verifiable number, not 6 million or however many. We have an actual number. We know how many women get abortions and how many children were killed. And I'm going to use that language because that is what has happened. But that's fine. It's the law of the land? Really? It's disgusting. Childcare. Who's bringing up baby? With both mom and dad at work, the big problem is finding quality childcare. Is that really the big problem? What about the problem is that both mom and dad are at work? Why is mom not home with the baby? Why is this child vulnerable to creepy pedo grabblers? Um, why is that the problem? See how they frame things as if quality childcare is a problem. You know what quality childcare used to be? Your biological parents. You know what quality childcare used to be? Your friend of the family, a neighbor, kid, who you're friends with their other kids and they all play together and one mom looks after them one day, another day, or you have Becky the babysitter, a nice high school girl who comes, watches your kids, you pay them. That used to be quality childcare. Relatives used to be quality childcare. Extended family used to be quality childcare. Now, people were complaining that the nuclear family was basically like trapping the mom and dad at home with the kids. They were isolated from relatives, isolated from friends and family and all the rest of it, and that was a bad thing. You know what? Now it's even worse. The parents aren't even freaking home. They're trapped in a cubicle, wage slaves, and their children are raised by television, the state, freak shows, people who have no business being around your children. That's who's raising your children, not you. Is scary. And again, this was 1987. So this isn't new. Now who's raising your kids? A frickin' dude in a dress. That's who's raising your kids. Here we go. God and money. Look how they blaspheme the cross. Greed, secrecy, and scandal. An inside look to Jim and Tammy Baker's bankrupt empire. Okay, so we've got a lot of Ponzi schemes that have been going on for a long time. Nothing new under the sun. Those Asian American whiz kids. Um, yeah. Do you know why that is? Is because they actually value hard work and do what they need to do. But now they're being discriminated against because they're too smart. So when they want to apply to school, they have to be even smarter. These kids, I don't know about the suicide rates in North America, but in Japan, in Korea, in China, these kids kill themselves like a lot because that tiger parent culture is intense. The pressure by the state, by everyone, is intense. The social shame and expectations are intense, and it it's not even that the young kids kill themselves. I think Japan has the highest like mortality, like a suicide rate of like adults at work because they're so stressed out. Who wants to work 70 hours a week? Nobody. So guys are literally topping themselves. And why does nobody care about, we're going to talk about, there's a gender one coming up 2 slides from now. Everyone's concerned about men and women and let's raise up women. Okay, I'm not against raising up women. Historically, women have had a shitty time in life. That's not to say men didn't have a shitty time in life. Men had a very shitty time in life. But what about the fact that far more men kill themselves than women? No one cares about that. Oh, you're just a pussy? No, he's struggling. And when women need help, they get it. When men need help, they're not even, they're too afraid to ask because they're going to be ridiculed and it's only going to make them feel worse about themselves. So you're only facilitating the suicide by treating men that way. So I'm on your team, guys. I'm with you, fellas. Okay, next one. The selling of America. Foreign investors buy. Well, America for sale, 1987. What a surprise that this has been going on for so long. Where do you think we are now, 30 plus years into the future? There's a reason why they call it the Corporation of America, whether it's just, an insult. Well, I actually think it's true. I think they have done some, these bankers must have done something to sort of in a way buy the country and its citizenry. There's something afoot, and if someone knows more about this than I do, which probably everyone knows more about it than I do, go ahead and share that information with us because I'm very curious to know what the F is going on. Okay, here's one, and I think this is the one that I clicked on to see the article. Like, I'm not going to pay to subscribe to Time, but it does give you like the first kind of paragraph of the article, and I'll share that with you guys in just a minute. But let's just finish these. There's quite a few. That's why I didn't want to email this to Owen. It's like 63. I'm not gonna bombard the guy. If any of you want to go ahead and chop up bits and pieces of it or share these with him, go right ahead. I'm totally cool with that. Okay, are women fed up? A hotly disputed height report says yes, and that men are to blame. Men are always to blame somehow. Women cannot just take responsibility, can they? Of course, not all, but some. Look, if you've got a problem, you deal with it. It's not everyone else's problem. Yes, there are things that we can do to make our lives a bit easier, between the sexes. Yes, there have been some historical injustices to both. But look, everything that's a problem for a woman is not because of a man. Women are oftentimes the problems not only of their own, of their own doing, but other women are oftentimes problems for other women. Women don't like each other very much, believe it or not. That's why I don't think feminism is a very smart idea, because if you want equality between the sexes, I think there's already a term for that, and I think it's egalitarian, egalitarian, égal, like on French. But look, stop with the complaining. Look at this. Even the little emoji, she's mental, and this poor guy is scared. This sums up men and women so well. Women is always freaking out. the guy's like, what did I do? Okay, because we don't think the same. We don't have the same interpretations. So anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is lying to you. Excuse me. Time. The heat is on. Oh, this is exactly what was like a scare tactic when I was growing up in school. Ozone. Why the ozone hole is growing. Again, do you notice something about this picture? The grid-like, matrix-like computer imagery? How the Earth's climate is changing. Well, obviously it's changing. When people didn't exist, there was like extreme heat and ice ages and all the rest of it. So how can you assume that it's, like Owen said, in his generation it was global cooling, my generation was global warming and the ozone hole, and now it's just change, because change is obviously the most linguistically accurate way to say it. Obviously the climate is changing. Okay, here's the thing. I'm very much on board with fighting pollution, but pollution and the climate are not like synonymous things. Yeah, I don't want people to companies to dump their waste into the water, dump it into the air, contaminate the soil, contaminate crops, contaminate people. Yeah, I'm 100% against that, and I don't really know a person who isn't. How can you not be against pollution? Obviously everyone is against that. That's pretty freaking obvious. But when you make these global totalitarian claims like the world will end in 10 years, in 12 years, if, and then like 30 years passes and nothing actually, like things have improved, mm, that's bullshit. You cannot make those claims. And when they say things like it's settled science, do you know how many things they said were settled science that were proven wrong? When they say there's a consensus, that basically just tells me how corrupt the science industry is, because if you can have a 97% consensus on climate change, basically what you're telling me is that 97% of the people you surveyed were bought off. That's basically what you're telling me, because that's not how science works. Science is a trial and error kind of method. It is a method of inquiry. You have to you can't always prove things, but you can sometimes disprove things. That's what it is about falsifiability. You cannot disprove something that you can't fully test. So it just doesn't work. How come in some countries they do one thing as their preferred method of surgery or preferred method of medication or whatever treatments that they do? That's just for healthcare, for example. But same thing with um, some people use nuclear power, some people use coal, some people do renewable energy. There's different ways to do something, and each place, they all have their own reasoning for it because they've tested things. So you cannot just make this like catch all, this is what's happening kind of claim, because that is not possible. So it just makes no sense when they make these claims, because by your own standard, which is the scientific method, that's not possible. It's dishonest. And when you make these like really extreme claims, you're only just showing yourself to be dishonest, because everyone knows that's impossible. And you don't realize how many scientists are silenced if they disagree. You're blackballed from the community. Okay, let's move back on a little bit to the sort of religious, spiritual crap. Oh, see, again, this is what I was telling you about. Here comes Gorbachev, like more fear mongering. But then, literally, a cover story of him being man of the year. Anyway, time. Oh, the guru, the New Age, starring Shirley MacLaine, faith healers, channelers, space travelers, and crystals galore. See, even here, they're telling you that space travel is bullshit. Anyway, yeah, this whole crystals and spiritual woke shite is just ridiculous. And there are certain healing properties to certain things, like, certain herbs or whatever. Where do you think medicine comes from? Pills don't just grow on trees, they're synthesized from those natural things. So, yeah, there is some element to that, for sure. That's how we lived before Big Pharma. But people are using this as a substitute to like a true connection with your creator. If you believe in all this stuff, but then you like stop that one step before realizing what you really should be believing in, you're just deluding yourself. This is New Age is basically Satanism repackaged. That's literally what it is. You are God, you are everything. It's all within you. The universe is divine. You're part of the universe, ergo, you're divine. No. And I really, really hate when Peterson says that the individual is sovereign. The individual is not sovereign. Do you know why? Because you don't belong to yourself. You belong to God. You are his creation. He is sovereign. You are not sovereign. You are his. I'm sorry to say it, but you should have dignity and you should have, be able to, have autonomy and all the rest of it and agency. But you are not this sovereign supreme being. He is also an occultist and he just will not admit it. So watch out for these false prophets and charlatans. Okay, next. Back to our frickin' boomers, man. We just love them. Just look at them. Look at this. I was like, yeah, she's just so frickin' happy. I love it. This guy's like, I'm so glad they invented Viagra. I wonder when it was invented, actually. Americans are living longer. 1988. And now for the fun years. See, this is like classic boomer. 70 is the new 50, 30 is the new 20. It's like, no, 50 is 50 and 70 is 70, and you're not 20. Just let it go, love. Just let it go. Americans are living longer and enjoying it more. But who will foot the bill? Yeah, us. Millennials and Gen Z and everyone to follow will foot the bill. It's really funny how, and of course, we love our parents and grandparents, so like this is not an insult or anything. I'm just saying it's really strange how instead of helping young people who are going to be living obviously significantly longer than the people who got one foot in the grave, why, like, why are we misappropriating the funds and resources that we have? Like, no one is saying to kill them, but why are you giving someone a hip replacement who's going to die in 2 years? Is that the best way to spend that time and money? Oh, but as long as the boomers are having fun and really enjoying it, they don't give a fuck. Like, I'm trying not to, I'm trying to swear less, but anyway, I'm dropping the F-bomb. It's damn boomers. Like, it just seems really unfair. So young people have to pay for their education, where my husband was actually telling me that in Britain there was like a grant. It was not a loan, it was a grant where the government would pay for you to go to school for free. They don't do that anymore, obviously, because there's more people and more people are going to school and there's more people in general. So they probably can't afford to do that anymore. But they also realize there's a bit of a cash cow, isn't it, to make people pay for the tuition. So in any case, so those people got to, and I think also in America there was the GI Bill and all sorts of, there's many ways that young people back in the day could go to school for free or for significantly less money. So they got to live the quote-unquote American dream that we're still being marketed, but we don't have access to it. So that's just total bullshit, honestly. Like, but as long as the boomers are having fun, like, how dare you? How dare you not pay for my Social Security and my Medicare and Medicaid? How dare you? Anyway, back to the computers. Computers of the future. Wow. There we go. Do you see how the human is the microchip there? It's coming, y'all. No despair. I'm just saying it's coming and we need to know about it. Just as simple as that. Well, do we really need to say any more about that? Very interesting image that they've chosen, actually. So, 40 years of achievement, 40 years of conflict. What did the hats do now? It's funny, they, I don't know. I don't have much to say about that, really. I think we all get it. Legalizing drugs. Should drugs be made legal? Well, if by drugs you mean illicit drugs, then probably not, because that would be like big competition for pharmaceutical drugs, and they don't like that. Um, Drugs are already legal, except not the ones that you probably would rather be taking. you know, I'm I don't know. I'm not really a huge drug person. You know, I had my phase growing up. I think everyone did, of experimenting, but yeah, you know, be sober, be vigilant. No one said you can't have fun now and again, but I just don't know that it's worth the risk. Um, Rogan actually had a Swiss guy who, oh God, he talked like Shapiro speed and just nattered on and on and on. But he was basically saying about how drug use is a symptom of not having family and friends to rely on, not having anything sort of like purpose or meaning in life, and it's more just a symptom, being a drug user, of internal problems and social problems and work problems. And to some extent, I do agree with that. And he said, you know, when they legalized, excuse me, heroin in Switzerland, people were quite shocked, but actually, when they did those safe injection sites and free things, people were able to, like, 90% of the people recovered and stopped taking heroin, and they were able to get a job and move on with their lives, because it wasn't the drugs that they needed. It was sort of like an anesthetic to a shitty living condition. And on some level, that seems interesting. But again, Switzerland has like what, 5 million people, like a very small population. America has like 350 ish, you know, so million. I don't know that that's going to work. And if people who are already so hooked on drugs are able to have access to them for free or at no sort of penalty, I just think that that's asking for like a huge amount of overdoses, because people will just like go crazy in a way that there is a sort of deterrent element to it being illegal. I don't agree with locking people up for drug use. I don't agree with that. I really don't. Why should and it's also unfair how like rich and famous people can get off for drug use, but everyone else is going to jail for it. Like, why? Just make that, like, being a user should not be illegal, but you know, of course, we don't want drug dealers and traffickers and all the rest of it. So that, it's a weird loophole, isn't it? Um, but it just seems unfair to punish people for their weaknesses and things like that. Okay, moving on. This one, I think we need to show there. Oh, and this one, this is him right here. Gardening, paradise found. Americans return to the garden. Amen. Okay, so there you go. That's what we should be doing, and this was 1988. That's exactly what we should be doing. But not everyone can do it, and of course, it does take money to invest and start up a proper garden. I mean, unless you're going to pot some plants in your window, it's not exactly the garden, is it? But um, not to sound like a communist kibbutz kind of thing, but I think that if people really are struggling, I don't know, why don't the Bears just like get together? And anyone could really do this. They could just get together and pitch in on a piece of land. Have you heard of like allotments? Sometimes uh, municipal or local governments will give you access, sometimes for free, to a certain patch of land that you can have like community gardens. Sometimes you may have to pay for it, as like a small amount, and you can do it that way. It doesn't have to be like right on your property, but it's always preferred if you don't have to travel to it. But there's no reason why you can't afford to buy a home. Like, you could pitch in with like a bunch of people, all have like a title to the home and to the land, and you can have like several houses there. That could be a thing. Um, th- Here's the thing, though. People really misunderstand that cooperatives, living in a communal way, that's not necessarily synonymous with state-controlled communist socialist utopia. People should have an independent sort of life, but you obviously want to help your fellow man, your neighbor, your friend, your family. Of course, you cannot be an individual forever. we are always part of one group or other, and to think otherwise is really mistaken. That's why this whole left right group, collectivist, and individual, it's a mistake. Everyone is an individual, and at the same time, everyone is part of a group. So why would you turn your back on having a group membership? You're always going to be, I'm not trying to quote frickin' what is it, Obama or Hillary, stronger together. You're always going to be stronger together. There is benefit to being in a number. You know, it's not advantageous to be alone. It really isn't. And even the Bible said it's not good for man to be alone. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with helping each other. You can all have your portion of the harvest, but why wouldn't you? Uh, this is Adam Smith's basic thing about capitalism and specialization and um, delegating different responsibilities based on your skill. You build the fence, I do the gardening, you do the fermenting of the foods, you do the milking, and everyone has a bit of something for everything. That makes sense. We already do that. We already do that. So why do we have to be like, I don't know, why do we have to feel weird about it? There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. Okay? What's not a good thing is when the government tells you how much you have to produce, you have to fill this quota, they don't let you keep any of it, they tax you if you make too much of it, they tax you if you don't make enough of it, and they'll kill you. That's not good, obviously. So, yeah, don't let people confuse you with that. It's a good thing. Right. Back to space again. China and America. Onward to Mars. So since 1988, they've been wanting to go to Mars. This whole, and this is a credit to NASA here, SpaceX and Elon Musk and American government wanting to go to Mars and other people as well. Guys, they've been doing this for ages. This is not new. And again, it's about having a poor short-term to long-term memory. Old people maybe don't remember this, and if they do, they sort of like get rid of it. So they have more room in their head for Dan Crenshaw. And young people just, of course, they don't remember it. They were either children or weren't born yet. So how do they know? No one is going through old archives like we are. That's why the Bears are based. Again, our filthy seas, ocean pollution. I'm telling you, it's been like that for a long time. Things naturally clean and themselves, and they also sometimes accumulate more dirt than others. I think that we have made some good inroads on pollution, but now the new thing is plastics. I don't know that plastic straws are going to save the world. Plastic bags are probably a way bigger problem. Those microbead plastics that get into the fish and you actually eat them because they eat them because you can't really filter them away. That's a huge problem. It actually accumulates in your body, just like it does in theirs, because again, you're eating them. There's just so many other problems that we should be focusing on, and we pick what's the easiest thing to do. Oh, I'm going to swap plastic straws for paper straws, which frickin' suck. Absolutely suck. They disintegrate. And there's still plastic coating on the straws. You think you can just drink out of paper and it not get wet? It's like a miracle that they don't disintegrate sooner. But why? Because they're coated in plastic. You didn't save anything. You're still producing oil and petroleum products and plastic. It's like, wake up. All right, here we go. More blasphemy against our Lord. Who was Jesus? A startling new movie raises an age-old question. Well, I don't give a shit about your movie, and I don't give a shit about what you think. We know who he was. He was who he said he was. That's all I have to say about you. You can deal with him directly. Here we go. 1989. Trump was put on the Time cover, and all of a sudden, when he became president, everybody hated him. So before, They're rapping about, oh, I want to be Trump rich, I got Trump money, all this and that. Okay. And he had a Hollywood Star of Fame. He has all sorts of awards. You can go ahead and check out his Wikipedia, unless the trolls got to it. Um, Everyone loved him. The Clintons were at his wedding. You can see pictures of Trump and Melania and Bill and Hillary at the wedding. They were all friends. They're all New York Democrats until he ran for president, which I don't know. Of course, he's still like, look, the guy's had 3 wives and cheated on all of them. He's not a beacon of morals in general. Like, you're not gonna get your life advice from him. But if you want business advice, I bought my husband that book, The Art of the Deal, and he said it was a great book, very interesting. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to deify this guy. It's not all good, all bad. In psychology, it's called splitting, right? And this is what people who are have pathological thoughts, they do this. You're either the best thing in the world or the worst thing in the world. Well, everyone is a bit of both. So unless you're like a full-blown psychopath, even a psychopath may like love his cat, okay? So he's not 100% bad, okay? So this is a derangement. That's why we call it Trump derangement syndrome. You are not thinking correctly about this person. So here, let's see what it says. This man may turn you green with envy or just turn you off. Flaunting it is the game, and Trump is the name. Well, he's certainly turned on enough people in one way or another. Very, very funny. Very, very funny. So much to say about this man. Everyone's got an opinion about him. That's the funniest. Whether it's their opinion or someone else's that they think it's their own, everyone's got an opinion about him. Okay. Guns and violence. Armed America. More guns, more shootings, more massacres. Okay, no one has those guns. No one has frickin' Kalashnikovs, okay? Who has those guns? They're obviously not legal, and they weren't legal in 1989 either, I highly doubt. So, notice how this propaganda about mass shootings and guns and that whole thing is always been around ever since probably the birth of the nation. There was some asshole who wanted to ruin it. So, unfortunately, there's just more of those assholes. The college trap. Student athletes earn millions for schools, but are they getting an education? Not only that, but do you know those college athletes um, don't get paid anything? They actually go to get zero money. They just sort of do it for school credit. Apologies. Oh, here we go. An essay. A hunter sick of the NRA. Okay, sure, whatever. Like, such turncoats, these people. Here we go. Abortion. Will the court turn back the clock? Well, we sure hope they do. Don't you love how they've made Adam into a woman? You know that Michelangelo. Is it Michelangelo? Is it Da Vinci? Yeah, the guy's name I think was Michelangelo. I can't remember. I'm not a huge artsy fartsy kind of person, but I love stuff. Anyway, very, very interesting that for so long we've been fighting this fight and nothing has come of it. I don't even know how a right to privacy gives you a right to kill another human being. A right to privacy surely means that you don't have to disclose medical treatments, like if you're whatever, you're doing something and that's your privacy and confidentiality. Why are we considering killing children a medical procedure? It's obviously a separate living human being. So how is that just I don't get it. Like, can someone explain that to me? Because I don't freaking get it. Revolution against communism. China, Poland, and USSR. You just had two commies as the man of the year. And all of a sudden, there's a sort of a revolution? Nah, whatever. It's just nonsense. Great ball of fire, an angry sun stages a spectacular show. Look what it says here. The refugee flood. It's been coming, folks. It's been coming. It's not an accident. It's been coming. This is Red Pill Rooster has been yelling at this ball of fire for ages. Nobody's listening. Now, while on the one hand we're fighting to butcher babies here, on the other hand, want a baby? Hey, I'm selling this baby. You want this baby? Not all children are equal in the joy and anguish of adoption. What does that even mean? Oh my God. So, apparently, that's just totally fine now to sell babies. So, either it's not a human being and you can kill it and dismember it and strip it for parts, like as if it's a shitty used car, or it's a transactional object where you can lease out your uterus as a surrogate mother, which has so many complications. A lot of times women become barren after because of the damage. The baby, the body rejects the baby because if it's not their own egg or whatever, the body doesn't like that, or they die. So there's a great documentary about it. I think you should watch it. I'll dig it up and I'll put it in the description. And so yeah, you're leasing out your uterus, and you know what? And this is either to straight or gay couples, and you know what they call them? Breeders, incubators. Well, those two are just disgusting in and of itself, but there's more. There's many more. And then you sell them. So you either sell your eggs, which is a difficult process to harvest. You know, you got to take all these hormones and release all these eggs and all the rest of it. And there's prodding and probing. It's not good. So you're leasing out your uterus, you're selling your eggs, you're selling your body, you're selling your baby, your own flesh and blood. I don't understand how you can have those two obviously contradictory things. It's not a living being, just a clump of cells. But those clump of cells are a much coveted baby that somebody wants to buy. How is it not a baby and a baby at the same time? How is it worth nothing to be killed and thrown away, and also worth so much that it's a multi-billion dollar industry, multi-billion dollar industry? We're not only doing that with ourselves willingly, but a huge portion of, well, I don't know about huge, but a significant portion of human trafficking is for this, for breeding. It's disgusting. Oh, here we go. Here's a good one. The loony cat lady feminist here. Here we go. Women face the 90s. In the 80s, they tried to have it all. Now, they've just plain had it. Is there a future for feminism? Well, one can only hope not, but you know, here we are. Again, I don't know what you mean by feminism, because if you want equality that already exists, the name feminism sounds a lot like female superiority. It's basic linguistics. You've not chosen the right name. And if you have, you're not properly applying it. So, again, like that earlier picture. Oh, the problem is it's so hard to find good childcare. No, the problem is you're not doing what your body is designed to do. You're not living logos properly. You're trying to be both a man and a woman at once, and in a way, you're neither. You're not helping yourself. The more of these burdens you put on yourself, the more difficult life is going to be for you, and it's nobody's fault but your own for buying into this nonsense. And you're hurting your children in the process. Simple as that. Money laundering, a $1 trillion shell game. Here we go. Endangered Earth agenda for the 90s. Oh, there you go. They've been at it for quite some time now with their agendas, haven't they? So who's doing this money laundering? Who's doing this shell game? I wonder. What size are their hats? I don't know. Let's find out. Uh, Owen's favorite topic there, Antarctica. Is any place safe from mankind? Why are they talking about us like we're parasites? Why are they talking about us like, oh, is anyone safe from these horrible, horrible people? Okay, that's a pretty shitty thing to say. Anyway, again, back to the immigration thing, America's demographics. Will the U.S. be like? What will the U.S. be like when whites are no longer the majority? America's changing colors. So you saw like about 10 years ago, they were talking about this. Now they're talking about it again. They're just so happy. They're just so happy that this is happening. It's gotten much worse now. Almost done, and then I'll move on to some other stuff. Smash! Colossal colliders are unlocking the secrets of the universe. Again, this is what CERN is trying to do, right? They want to find the God particle. They want to find this. They want to find that. You're not going to find God in a particle. He's outside of that. He made that. You may find a fingerprint in it, but this is, in a weird way, and anyone who's familiar with the scriptures, in a weird way, what they're doing with this isn't science or physics or chemistry or biology in the strict sense of understanding what is. How can we, heal? If we're sick, how can we heal? If we want to understand when is the best time to grow something, or how do cars move, like basic things. That's what science is for, and technology. It's not supposed to be an evil thing. It's supposed to be a good thing. Like, there's no reason to hate it purely because it's been misappropriated. It's supposed to be a good thing. But what they're doing, unlocking the secrets of the universe, this sounds an awful lot like divination. You're trying to use secret knowledge, hidden knowledge of physical things to then interact with or have control over spiritual and supernatural things. That's what it seems like to me. I mean, if you disagree, let's have that discussion. But this doesn't sound like the realm of proper natural science. This sounds to me like supernatural endeavors cloaked in the, language of science. But this is not science. This is pure, like, trying to do magic through science. And that's why they always call everything the magic in the computer, the magic of the screen, the magic of this and that. We're making magic. Yeah, thanks for being so freaking honest about it. We already knew that. Damn wizards. Okay, again, one more about the abortion thing. Abortion's most wrenching questions. Should parents have a say? What about rape victims? Given that like a fraction of a percentage is rape victims and not all of them actually want to abort their children, why should we, if that is the only provision in the law, then you don't need to change the whole law for that very specific example. Those people should be just protected if they want to be. I don't necessarily think that you have to be, but it is a huge trauma, and I can see why someone would not want that, even though there are people who do keep their children. Nevertheless, that's, again, a very unique case. You don't need to change the whole law of convenience and birth control as abortion as that method. When it's just about those unique cases, they can go and petition the court for that reason, and that would be fine in that regard. Should parents have a say? Well, given if you're a minor, the parents do have a say. How come the parents don't have a say in like all these fundamentally important things, like if you want to get a sex change or not, which is impossible, and if you want to terminate your child. I don't understand why they have parents have less and less control over their own children nowadays and over their own lives, and you're in trouble for everything. Like, who who told you that you have this sort of right as a government to tell other people how to live in that level? That is not the proper role of government. So yeah, maybe parents should have a say, actually. Mind you, if you're one of those parents who's like a major libtard boomer and you want your child to have an abortion and the child doesn't, in that regard, I think we should always err on the side of life, should we not? Why are we so quick to kill things and people, but we don't want to kill pets? We don't want to kill like any animal. We don't want to damage the environment, but we do want to kill human beings. So we're genocidal, homicidal, murderous fucks. But all of a sudden, we're good people, huh? Makes no sense. Makes zero sense. Here we go. Last one. The next generation. 20 something. Laid back, late blooming, or just lost. Overshadowed by the baby boomers. Damn it! Every single time. America's next generation has a hard act to follow. It's not a hard act to follow. These people are assholes. It's really easy to outshine them. What have you done, millennial? What have you done? Well, given that you've ruined, everything, what could we have done? That's all we could have done. So now I shall move on to, I will move on to, hey, I'm back. I want to show you the Mountain Bear video. I just freaking think he is amazing. And I'm sorry, Mountain Bear. I hope it's okay that I'm showing your video. So, don't copyright me, please. Giving you a shout out. I think that he is an absolute genius, and I'll tell you why. The simplicity of it, the sheer simplicity of it is amazing. That is why it's so effective. Because you don't need fancy graphics. You don't need a script even. You take reality and you just put it on a stage, just present it the way that it is. So I freaking love the Rosa Parks one. Like, absolutely love it. The way that he spliced in Owen with the lady is just incredible. Absolutely incredible. I absolutely love that one. That is my favorite one. Now, the one of the Irish guy, the Sorry Mihol. Do you know what's really amazing about that? Not obviously it's real because the guy is Irish and that's how he talks. But when people joke about like stereotypes, I'm sorry to say, oftentimes are real and they're very accurate. And that's why people sometimes get upset about them, is because they really capture you. And you don't really like seeing the mirror pointing at you in such a accurate way, I guess. Not all of them are. Some of them are just like a meme or whatever, but who cares? They're funny. Um, they actually talk like that, and I let my husband listen to it, and he died laughing. Like, we've watched it together like a dozen times easily, and I've watched it like probably more than that. It's so funny. It's like the best 45 seconds ever. It's really, really funny. So I want to watch it again with you guys, and just like it's just epic. It's just epic. We have to watch it. Okay, let's do it. Display. Here we are. Come on. Your bollocks. In there, Gallagher. Oh my god. I love that the guy says sorry. Oh, sorry. You sorry Mihol is kind of like The way like, yeah, sorry, my ass, like, yeah, sure, kind of thing. It actually is. Well, I don't know how common of an expression it is, but it's definitely something the Irish would say. And I love that he says fuck. It's so accurate, like, because obviously he's Irish, but it's hilarious. Sorry, dumping your shite. Oh my god, it's amazing. It's so good. It's so freaking good. Absolute. Bear, you're a fucking legend, mate. Absolute legend. This is just my all-time fave. Absolutely love it. Bro, if Owen was on this plane, he would have been like, "Yeah, right up. What do you tell him?" Okay, this is so accurate. That's what I mean. You. This is actually very difficult to do. I find it personally really difficult to do all this editing crap. That's why it's like super low budget quality my videos. But man, there's a freaking ledge. It's so fucking good. It's so good. I just, I just can't. It's amazing. How can you not freaking love that? So yeah, like I said, it's just simple. You don't need to make it into something it isn't. Reality is great. Truth is stranger than fiction. You don't need to like. You couldn't write that. You honestly couldn't write that. I was just watching because we're in a hotel and I got like shitty TV, and some show came on, and the script writing was so fake. It's like those like kind of romantic kind of shows, this chick flicks that I absolutely hate. I'm just not that kind of girl. I hate it. And it's like, oh, the guy. Guys like this don't exist. Let me just tell. There are sweet, lovely, kind men out there, but guys like this don't exist. So he's like, oh, well, maybe it's just because you're so wonderful that other people don't understand you. I'm just so fortunate to know you. And she's like, oh, thanks. What? Like, no one talks like that. No one. No one talks like that. No guy. Like, you know, but my husband says some really sweet things to me, but it's like that is fake as fuck. Like you just don't get that. And the beauty of this is he doesn't have to change anything. He just takes the content as it is. But the way that he added on it is like perfect. That's exactly how it would happen because that's him saying it. It's perfect. So keep crushing Mountain Bear. You're a freaking legend. I think we should send him some videos for him to do, like, because these are really good. Like, truly, they're very very good. Um, so yeah, I think. Oh my god, I've been going for almost an hour and a half. I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. Um, Hope you found it entertaining. Rogan's up. It's yeah, that's all I've got to say. I'm going to go and have some lunch now, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.